Maybe. All right. Hello, YouTube. I've been live on Twitter. The app that I record on has been being like problem after problem. Um, but yeah, uh, we're going to pick up here talking about AEW, which is what most people probably want to see. Um, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's happening with Bray Wyatt. It's a manifestation of his mind. Sami Zayn was ticked off about being cost the win, and Dominic was not the belle of the ball in jail. That's pretty much the meat and potatoes of the WWE talk. So now in progress for YouTube and everybody on Twitter getting the getting everything else. We light the fuse and bring the boom. Time to talk Dynamite. Start off real hot with Hangman Page and Jon Moxley. I really like this match a lot. And really like the fact that Hangman won. What everybody else think?
Can Moxley finally take his vacation now?
I don't think so. I think Moxley took a full-time job and is now like an employee that has to work 52 weeks a year.
I think so too. But what do you think of the match?
Well, the match was good though.
Yeah. And I'm really happy that Hangman won. Hangman needed this big time.
Yeah.
Easy?
No, I'm same here. It was like good to like finally like see this match, and especially at a historic venue. But I just want Mox to have his vacation, please. Like he was promised.
I mean, he might have time to take it, but
that's literally always been my every week when we talk about Moxley is, can he finally take his vacation? Like, I really don't mind not seeing Moxley for a couple of weeks.
I agree with that, but I don't know if the brass at AEW feel that they're going to be able to get quite as good of a rating without him.
You have the Elite back. You have Jericho. You got MJF.
You said the Elite, and I want to reiterate, maybe you're not going to get as good of a rating without Jon Moxley.
Chris Jericho?
Good veteran, but I don't know if he's... Jon Moxley is, the top draw and the top guy for all intents and purposes in AEW right now. He's the one that most people want to see. Maybe not necessarily the three of us, and that's not a slide on Mox, but he is kind of their go-to guy. He is the... He's the quarterback.
The John Cena.
Yeah, he's John Cena. He's
Roman Reigns.
And they're afraid of what the show, especially now, may look like without him. That they could very well be holding on to him. Now, if there's ever a time where Jon Moxley could get some time off, I feel like now is the time. They could give him enough time off and then bring him back for Revolution. I think it would be acceptable.
I think after Revolution, maybe. They're getting
You don't think they want to keep him around for Double or Nothing? For the build to that one?
This right here, what we have watched, what we have lived right here, right now, has been probably the most critical time for AEW since they got their TV deal. This is what they're going to get renewed on or moved on. This is the money right now. Their contract is now going up for renewal. So if they get a bump, if they don't get a bump, it's all based on this TV right now. So I'd keep him. If he's your money, then you keep him on TV. That's why MJF got this title, because MJF is also the money.
Yeah. He's...
And if he's willing to do a full-time schedule, Because obviously, if he wasn't willing to do this, he wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Brian doesn't do every week. He's not willing to. Jericho does every week. He's willing to.
Oh, just on a side note, since this is like our first live show of 2023, I kind of like the new set AEW's got. It's not bad, but I like it. No complaints.
Yeah,
I don't mind it.
Doesn't bother me any. The old one didn't bother me any. The new one didn't bother me any.
Yeah.
Of all the things that, you know, in AEW or wrestling in general to get worked up about, this is not one of them. Tony Schiavone was in the ring to interview Adam Cole. And Adam Cole acted like he may retire. He did not. And Adam Cole says that he will come back, no matter how long it takes. So what are we thinking about with Adam Cole? Do we think? Obviously, I don't think he's coming back now. I feel like there's still recovery. This was just kind of a touch base, but I don't know.
So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like forgetting this, but like, how did he get injured again?
He got a bad concussion
Oh, that's
at
right. Okay.
Forbidden Door.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. I honestly thought his promo was pretty powerful. Like, he wasn't talking as whether he's good guy or bad guy Adam Cole. He's talking as human Adam Cole. Like, I almost, like, Christ, like, I was, like, teared up a little bit when he was having his little pacing moments and Britt was, like, telling him, like, what's wrong. And it's like, my God, this was, like, hitting close to the heart here. So, I hope he makes a comeback at some point very soon. And if we gotta wait, we gotta wait. I hope he'll go out with a complete bang when he hopefully at one point will become like an AEW champion for something.
Some champion. I mean, I don't mean to knock Adam Cole, but I don't know. I don't know if he's. I don't know if he can be world champion. I kind of felt.
No, not world champ, but maybe TNT.
Yeah.
I mean, I could definitely, if he recovers quickly, but if not, again, no rush. But Adam versus Darby would honestly be a banger of a match.
CJ, what'd you think?
I thought the promo was good. It was kind of touching. He definitely comes back as a babyface now.
That's going to be my next question that I was going to pose to everybody.
No, he is white meat babyface now.
Well,
I just feel conflicted. It's like you betrayed the Elite, and then Sally, you get injured from Forbidden Door, and now it's like, hey, I'm back. I'm a good guy now. It's like, well, you don't really have to be a good guy when you're back from injury. You can still tell the crowd to screw off.
Good, but he didn't.
He didn't. There could be... I'm going to bring up two famous times in wrestling history when a wrestler came back from injury. One of them, they went on the good side. One of them, they went on the bad side.
Is one of them Triple H when he returned
exactly.
from a squad
That's
injury?
the first one. Triple H.
My immediate first thought is that one.
Triple H was engaged in a program with, at the time, Chris Jericho, who was a super good guy in WWF at the time, and some other guy who, the Wolverine of sorts, who was also big on the good side of things since The Rock was not in the company at the time or was away filming movies.
Mm-hmm.
And he was aligned with Vince McMahon and the newly bad guy Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he left on the bad side of things, but when he came back, because everybody was worried about him and he came back from a big injury, everybody cheered him, and they stuck with him for a little while in that role, at least all the way to WrestleMania, and it worked. But another time, a time that from before any of the three of us on this show were born, there was a major plane crash in the Carolinas, and one person in that plane crash was a brash young upstart by the name of Ric Flair. And Ric Flair was told he would never wrestle again. And Ric Flair came back. And people who knew that Ric Flair was in the plane crash were happy to see him back. And Ric Flair basically used that sympathy to turn bad and go, I came back for me. I didn't come back for you people. And was kind of the start of Ric Flair's run as a top bad guy on his way up to eventually becoming the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Back when the NWA's World Heavyweight Championship was not on a Funkasaurus. So, while Adam Cole could absolutely come back as full-on good guy, everything, Adam Cole also has enough talent, and while, again, I don't think he's... The whole Hangman Page program kind of made me think, maybe when he's not the big fish in the small pond like he was in Ring of Honor and NXT, maybe he's not the guy to be the world's champion to carry the company when you have, a big-time roster like AEW has. He's got enough talent and he's still really, really good to be able to take this and still go, I made you people cry. Aren't you guys stupid? And really run with it as a bad guy still. So I don't think there's a bad route to take, but I do feel like the bad guy route is still very much a road that they could travel. So we move on from Adam Cole to talk about a tag team match. Jungle Hook, Jungle Boy Jack Perry and Hook, versus the firm of Lee Moriarty and Big Bill.
Someone bring me up to speed. When did this happen?
They just randomly
They
did
just said, hey, he's Big Bill now.
Like, when I heard that, I'm like, did I miss something when I was with family on the holidays?
Nope. They just randomly started, and they did it the WWE way, where they started saying it in a promo, and they said it over and over and over on commentary. Big Bill, Big Bill, Big Bill, Big Bill, Big Bill, Big Bill.
Like when Bobby Roode was Big Bob.
Big Bob.
Yeah.
Thank God they didn't go with Big Boy. Oh, God.
It still sounds like
Or
a porn
Big Boy
name.
Bill.
It doesn't help.
No.
Fuck it. I'm still calling him Morrissey.
But, yeah, this match wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. Jungle Boy beat Lee Moriarty with the snare trap. And, yeah, anybody else have an opinion on this match?
It happened.
It happened. We go to a match that did more than just happen. Bryan Danielson versus Konosuke Takeshita. Takeshita's in the ring. MJF was out there doing MJF things. He said that he needed Takeshita to win this match. Takeshita spoke his native language. MJF kind of said something that maybe some people could interpret as racist. And then Takeshita said,
It's MJF.
"Kiss my
what do you
ass."
expect?
So, Bryan Danielson came out. They had a really good match. Danielson kicked Takeshita's head in. And, yeah. I thought this was
Honestly, go ahead.
I thought this was a really good match. I'd like to see him have another one because I feel like at first they kind of had some trouble like feeling each other out, and it showed. But then once they kind of got the feel for one another in the ring, it was great. So now that they know what to do with one another, I'd like to see another match down the road with both of them. But it's still a really good match. What do the rest of you think?
And I thought it was like phenomenal. It was low key making me want to see maybe MJF and Takeshita, or did I say his name right?
Yeah,
Takeshita.
yes.
Okay. Anyways, I actually almost low key wanted to see these two fight. It's like I don't care if MJF wins it. I just would love to see it. MJF maybe try to poach and go after New Japan's talent, or who knows?
Takeshita's not a New Japan talent.
Never
Nope.
mind.
He wasn't either.
He never was.
Yeah. He is now.
He's now AEW. He is all elite.
Yes. Sign a contract. Lose your match.
Yep.
Okay, anyways, so on that note, I hope MJF and Takeshita fight. But as for him against Bryan Danielson, I thought it was pretty awesome, and I especially loved what Bryan is offering to MJF.
Yep. So, Juice Robinson sets up a match for Darby. Where the fuck's Juice been?
I sadly
He signed a
did not get you.
contract.
He signed a contract. So he's
So
been
that came-
so he's been on Dark, which is apparently a tremendous honor to some people. Or at least as some people have you think on Twitter. And yeah, I know I'm on Twitter, and if you're watching this and you're one of those people, you know who you are. Yeah, you think Dark's good? You think being relegated to Dark's a good thing? Yeah, okay. The Juice Robinson signing, like, unless, like, if he's the man's getting paid, cool. But to me, Juice Robinson's signing was like one of many of AEW's signings that have been like, oh my god, I just gotta sign this guy, everybody. Like, you had nothing planned for him. You didn't have anything thinking like, oh, we can do this, this, and this. It's just like, hey, I gotta sign somebody. Oh, what do the rest do you think?
I did freak out a little bit that Juice Robinson was fighting Orange Cassidy. Unfortunately, I didn't see anything of Rampage due to everyone who's ever worked in the retail, the biggest nightmare words being inventory.
You not at the house
So, yeah.
anymore? Or is that just retail at the house?
No, it was our gift shop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, it was still, at least, it was good. I will say that. But, I mean, even though it's for the wrestling stupidest belt championship, I mean, I'm at least happy to see Juice Robinson getting some TV time. So,
Well, he's wrestling
please
Darby,
make
which
that
is
more
not for the
happen.
stupidest belt.
I don't care who's holding it. It's like, no.
Darby's the TNT champion.
It was for the TNT belt. Not,
Yeah.
It wasn't Orange Cassidy. It was Darby.
Oh, sorry, I got the two mixed up. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sad I missed the match between Darby and Juice.
No, the next match was AEW Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, versus Saraya and Toni Storm. A little backstory on this. A lot of people were thinking that Saraya would choose Mercedes Moné to be her partner, but in a
Money.
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 We should be millionaires right now. TM. We wrote a hit.
Yeah. That's about what her music sounds like. But Saraya did an interview with Tony Storm and Hikaru Shida, and pretty much did what Saraya does best in this run, which is shit on AEW talent and say, I need to bring in the best to be my partner, and I'm sitting right next to the best, Tony Storm. Or shit on AEW original. So she did that. Hikaru Shida looked more than offended by being big leagued. Match was good. Shida came to the ring with a kendo stick and tried to send it in to what we think is, have Saraya and Tony use that against Britt and Jamie. But Britt grabbed it instead and hit Tony Storm with it and won the match. Shida looked upset about it. They're kind of maybe going in this, and I really hope they don't do this, but I fear they are, Shida being the one to go the bad side of things. But to me, Saraya is the most unlikable woman on the AEW roster, with, at least in terms of her character, not in real life, so don't fucking lynch mob me.
Do it.
Yeah. Or do it. Yeah, whatever. I've been lynch mobbed for a lot less.
Let me and CJ take over the show.
Her character, I think Saraya's character since she's come in has been fucking insufferable.
Am I actually the only one in the minority, and I probably am, that it kind of looks like Shida was actually throwing that kendo stick towards Baker?
Yeah, I think it is too, and I think that
was on the other side of the ring.
I think you're exactly right. That's what they're doing, which to me upsets me because Saraya's basically come in and said, all y'all suck, I'm great, and then she's still good, and I don't fucking like that.
Okay, you know what? Let me play devil's advocate a little bit here. What if all of this is building to just Saraya joining forces with Baker?
That would be even worse. I don't know. CJ, what do you think of all of this storyline and everything going on?
Yes.
They've kind of wishy-washied it. Especially if you kind of talk about like the things that are said, like it was very much set up like, oh yeah, well Shida's gonna definitely turn on Tony and take her out, and then we're gonna get Mercedes as Saraya's tag team partner, and it's just, that's the whole plan, and none of that worked, and the whole match was just very wish-washy about it, like, oh well, don't know if Shida is actually offended, because she should be, because that was offensive.
And despite the fact that I may be one of like the biggest fans of Mercedes Moné now, I really don't care if she is enjoying AEW. I really don't.
Money!
I'm calling her Monet. I don't care.
I just can't wait for her to have that music and everybody think it's good.
I don't care if she takes like a brief little off-put from WWE to do New Japan stuff or just independent stuff or just go into Hollywood. I don't care. I still love her regardless. But will she join AEW? I honestly don't think so.
I don't care. That is...
I have no idea, but if she wasn't on the plan, they did a terrible job of making that clear to their audience, and they probably need to be careful about that. It's like, oh, well, yeah, the unknown is what attracted viewers. Well, you do that too many times and you're going to piss off your audience because their audience is made up mostly of people that are disenfranchised with WWE.
Or, AEW, there is an interesting thing that, many, many, many wrestling companies do. It's called a vignette. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
No, we can't have vignettes. That would take fucking 3 minutes away from a match, and Dave Meltzer might give it a half a star less, and it may be less of an internet epic, EZ. Don't you fucking know?
No, I don't. Geek
You're-
Cornette, I don't.
Call me Cornette all you want, but that is actually like the reason why anytime I'm like, hey, AEW could get a vignette, I get attacked by everybody going like, don't you know that with a vignette that the Young Bucks and Top Flight would have had 3 less minutes? That's not good. They could have done more moves in those 3 minutes and been an epic match. Why would you want a vignette to set up something? We know who they are. You can just get on Twitter and they'll tell you who they are.
Because to the lovely IWC community, that is how you build a fucking superstar. We freaking saw vignettes from Wardlow, and he was MGF's little servant boy for like half a year. Or a year more.
Well, more than a year.
Yeah.
More than a
And
year.
where's
Sorry,
Wardlow now?
Yeah, where's he at now?
Isn't he injured or something? Or he was... Or, I don't know, he was probably getting a vacation, unlike a certain somebody we talked about earlier.
He gets a lot of fucking vacations,
Yeah, he gets a
man.
lot of vacations. But there was one person that got a vignette, and he is featured in this next segment. The Jericho Appreciation Society all came to the ring, and they were talking shit, and then Ricky Starks came out and with Action Andretti and talked more shit, and set up a match about with Jake Hager. Starks made fun of his hat. Jake Hager likes that hat.
And a pole match.
No. I'm not Jim Cornette, but let's keep Vince Russo ideas out of here, please. But yeah.
I thought of a stupid one. A cat in a hat match. And the cat has Jake Hager's hat. I'm sorry,
Vince Russo has entered the chat, everybody.
Cat in the hat, Matt, bro.
There's a cat, and you're gonna have the hat on. But swerve! Swerve, bro!
Stupid as when I tried to do the heel easy thing.
Swerve, bro! Actually, the cat was Mercedes Moné all along.
Okay, I saw like a thumbnail from one of Brian Zane's Wrestling with Regret reviews. It was from a pay-per-view. It was like somebody on a forklift match. And I'm
Judy
like,
Bagwell, yes.
I don't even want to know.
Judy Bagwell is Buff Bagwell's legit mother.
I don't really want to know what happened. Nor should I even know the backstory.
Well, eventually we'll get to that in a couple, 3 or 4 years on WCW.
I'm gonna make sure my
See, right now we're looking forward to the NWO, but then eventually we gotta look forward to Vince Russo.
Well, we still haven't got to the fact on why the Giant is WCW World Champ all of a sudden.
No, we got to that. The contract that Jimmy Hart brought up said that Hogan could lose the belt via DQ. After he was after something very lewd happened to him at Halloween Havoc. But anyway, main event time. It's the, thank God, final match of the Best of 7 series.
For
Death Triangle versus the Elite. Escalera de la Muerte 2. I liked the match well enough. Like, it wasn't a bad match. It was a good way to end this series. The most overrated series in the history of pro wrestling. But it was a good match. The Elite won. I do want to know that since the Elite won their title back and they're the first 2-time holders of that belt, do I get to call them egotistical pricks holding everybody down? Because that was the standing precedent when Cody beat God rest his soul, Brody Lee to win the TNT title back. So I want to know if that precedent still exists or if it's okay.
Because the Young Bucks took a top rope fuckinator DDT Stromboli off of the ladder.
Oh yeah.
To win.
And Dave Meltzer probably gave this match a lot of stars.
And I do have an opinion, though, that I believe the wrong team won. I mean, come on. How could you not probably have a pretty incredible build-up that thinking, oh, you knew we did 3-1, we can make a comeback. And it'd be like, well, here you are in your hometown, and the answer is no, you lost. I think the Death Triangle should have retained this. Or I was at least hoping someone was going to get involved with this match. Literally anybody from, like, maybe a House of Black appearance, the Best Friends, JS for all I care, or hell, even maybe Brandon Cutler throwing or like pushing the ladder down.
Now, I'm glad on that. I'm the opposite. While Phoenix and the Young Bucks in particular are not
Stokely Hathaway's stupid goon squad getting involved.
I like the fact that this wasn't, didn't have too much going on in it other than too many moves. I like that. CJ, what do you think about all this before I kind of get into my portion of this?
I just want to point out that this whole bullshit started because Kenny Omega would get knocked out with a hammer. I just want to point that out. All of the last 3 matches, but the first couple, he got knocked out with a hammer. The hammer is their undoing. Everything else is fine, but a hammer is their undoing.
Yeah, especially taking a front flip through a table.
Yeah,
all by
that
yourself.
Annoys me. This is why I get annoyed at Young Bucks and Kenny doing this shit. Because the first part of your story, a hammer took you out. They could not beat the hammer. And I probably would be on board with Death Triangle having won, because it would have put those 3 over massively. But then we would have another one of these matches down the road, and I can't. Yeah. I just can't.
Well, by down the road, I mean maybe in 9 months?
No, they redo it in like 6 weeks. I guarantee you, if Death Triangle had won, this would be a match on Revolution.
Yeah. I will play a little devil's advocate, despite my immense criticism of the Elite. I can see why they won. Now I feel like things are kind of like back on track, so to speak. They were supposed to be the first champions. They were supposed to have a run.
Yeah.
And then...
But instead a guy named Phil ruined it for us.
Yeah. I mean, they had their own part in that, too. As much as I hate CM Punk, I'm not, like, so blinded by my hatred that I won't say that, hey, there's a lot of things done wrong by everyone involved here. So I kind of see maybe like okay, we're back to where things should have been after All Out. But I'm just happy this Best of 7 series is over. I think it was not that good. That'll get me lynch mobbed.
Even necessary to begin with.
Exactly. That's number 2. You establish these new belts, and there's this whole trios division, and we're supposed to like see the depth of this division, and this is there's so many stables and so many 3-man groups, or
keep in mind that's basically how AEW started. Was all the crazy factions we were about to see.
Yeah, so like, okay, so rather than show off the depth of all the groups and like have, I know Death Triangle had a couple defenses against Best Friends and the Dark Order, but other than that, it's just been kind of go Elite, go Elite, and then like, rather than continue to show how big and how firm this division could be, you just had the same guys wrestle 7 times. And I know everybody's gonna at me talking about how fucking great it was, and if you liked it, that's your bag, whatever. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you found something in wrestling to enjoy, but to me, like the whole division, you pretty much just told me that you introduced these belts and the division is not that good because you had to do the same team 7 fucking times. I don't care how epic you think the match was. I don't care how many flippity-doo-dahs they did. I don't care how many stars Dave Meltzer gave it. I don't fucking care. You have blatantly told me for 7 fucking weeks that nobody else in this division is worth a fuck except for these 2 fucking teams. But because it's AEW and because it's the internet, they're the best 2 fucking teams that ever fucking existed, so why you complaining? So, Fuck me, am I right?
Yeah, you hit the nail. Oh, and also adding on to the fact that Kenny Omega had a Wrestle Kingdom match against Will Ospreay, won the match. So,
Good match. Really good match. Great match. Probably my favorite Will Ospreay match ever. Will Ospreay wrestled that match the way I like to see matches wrestle. My biggest criticism with Will Ospreay was he doesn't tell stories and sell moves for very long, and he did in that match. So, therefore, when he does those things in matches, I can like Will Ospreay matches.
Yeah. And also, hell, I could have seen like the United Empire maybe get involved to ruin the Elite moment. It's like, all right, you took away my moment at Wrestle Kingdom, bruv. I'm gonna take away your moment in Los Angeles, bruv.
They're probably gonna let that simmer for a little bit. They're gonna let that simmer for a little bit before they touch again, which is smart on New Japan's part.
That's fair, yeah. I'd love to see United Empire in person.
But yeah, thank God it's over, and now we can just see the Elite run roughshod, and further proof that this division doesn't matter until they lose, you know. And here's something. Why aren't we seeing more six-mans with these other teams, like, on the undercard? Like, for real, like where have, like, the six-mans on the undercard been? Where has, like, the, hey, this is Dark Order, and they may be lying and waiting for the winner of the best of seven. Where's that been? This is like the six-man tag division in AEW is the tag team division in WWE. Nothing matters with the titles. There is no depth. There's nothing on the underneath with that division to make you give a fuck, except for the fact that it's AEW and you should give a fuck.
Well, I mean, the number one contenders, who we assume is going after the trios titles next, was involved in Dynamite also on Wednesday. It's just only two of them, and they were in a tag team match that looks like it's building another feud. So I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly. But, hey, all the action, why are you complaining? Why don't you love this? You must not be a real wrestling fan. All right, so Rampage. We got that Juice Robinson versus Darby Allin match. It was good. Proof that Juice should get used more, everybody. He lost the match, but he should be used more. And finally, we're just going to talk about the main event because this got a lot of talking points. It was a street fight between Anna Jas and Ty Mello versus Willow Nightingale and Ruby Soho. I really liked the match. I wasn't super offended by the blood. The only critique that some people on the internet have had that I agree with is, you know, maybe they could have let this build a little bit more. Maybe done this on a pay-per-view. Maybe, like, let this feud get more deeper and personal throughout the coming weeks. Perhaps had this on Revolution. Done it there, and then maybe the blood would feel just that much bigger, that much more personal, and carried that much more meaning. That's my only critique. That's it. What everybody else think about this match and the apparent offensive, quote-unquote, offensive nature of it?
Okay, well, it's a street fight. What the fuck are you going to get out of this? But, yeah, I do feel this was very forced. Well, not really forced, but just, like, happened so fast. Like, oh, we're going to fight you guys in a street fight and all that. So, sadly, again, due to, you know, I was stuck at work with inventory, I didn't see this match. But I did see, like, the Twitter reactions. And my first thought is, like, again, this is a street fight. None of you bastards got insanely offended from the Britt and Thunder blood matches we've got. So what do you want from us? Like, again, it looks like these guys were having a blast with this match. Minus one person who did a complete power bomb through a table and completely missed the table.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Botchamania, have fun with that. And again, it's like, I don't get the double standards with this. If this was indeed blood and guts level of the women doing it, people would be like, "Oh my God, this is absurd. Like, these women shouldn't be like." There's literally a double standard that people are throwing in here, much like something that's also extremely outdated: dress codes. That's a subject for another day. But anyways, it's like, if these were literally a tag match between two of the top stars on the males division, everyone would have thought this was insanely awesome. But because somehow there's a moral standard that if the women are bleeding their asses off with this match, that apparently it's too much to handle and such. It's like, boy, you guys really don't know how women want to fight each other, do you? Like, they want to bleed, they want to, like, try to kill each other with all that. Go for it. I got no problem with it. As long as it's not me in this match, I'm happy.
CJ, what do you think?
So I'm not, like, I don't know. Let's start with, the number one critique of the blood. I was just concerned. Like, she lost a lot of blood. Her hair was completely matted up top. That was a lot. It's not offensive a lot. It's just, that was a lot, and I worry about her. That's the only thing for me. Ty and Anna have been in a street fight before, and blood everywhere. So did the bunny in that same street fight. I don't know what the problem was here. To me, this feud has gone on long enough, and this was a good time to end it, because I am ready to see Ruby move on. Because, I mean, this carried from All Out when Ruby got her nose broken, and that was a step up in the feud as well. Like, this feud has been going for almost the entire year with all the injuries and everything else. I'm ready for it to be done. It wasn't a heated rivalry, and I don't think it's going to get there.
You didn't think that this could have been built up even towards Revolution?
No. I think if you tried, you were just going to make it sour.
Okay.
Yep. There was enough heat on the Ruby's nose got smashed up for real. If you can't build more heat on this match with real life shit like that, there's nothing in the next few weeks that you're going to be able to do to put it on there. And I think that that's kind of on Ruby and Ty. I'm going to put that mostly on Ty, honestly. I think she's personally, I think she's hitting a wall here where she needs to get over the wall and get better. But, that's my personal opinion. I want Ruby to move on because Ruby doesn't feel like a big deal like she did 2 years ago.
Yep.
No,
I agree with that.
I don't think that you could literally, like, shave her head. I don't think you could have done anything else to put heat on this feud. I think it needed to end.
All right, so the last point we need to talk about, and everybody on Twitter got to hear us talk about everything. On YouTube, you missed a good portion of it. Check out the replay on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Tell me I suck. This is something that's been talked about to death. And quite frankly, just as a fan, I'm tired of hearing about it and talking about it and whatever. But Vince McMahon did return to the company. He didn't do anything illegal in returning to the company. Did he do illegal stuff? Yes. But him coming back to the company, I know I have the business expert on this call, but from the way I understand, he still owned those shares and could put himself back in if he wanted to. And he did. And that's unfortunate. The rumor and innuendo is he put himself back in charge, not to be in charge of creative. We'll see how long that lasts.
Can I throw a flag here?
What's that?
You're saying he brought himself back to the company. He brought himself back on the board.
Yeah.
So the board is made up partially of independent, sometimes paid, sometimes voluntary people to advise on the best situation for the company, and it's also partially made up of employees in this case. In some cases, employees do not sit on boards. Um, but he did not bring himself back into the company as an employee. So he makes no day-to-day business decisions. The only thing he can do currently is advise. Yes, he can approve and deny sales and anything else. Not because he's on the board, because he owns the majority shareholders. Because he owns 80% voting power of this company. He would have that decision whether he made this choice or not. He gets to decide all the things based on that.
Now,
unless he died or sold those shares, he always gets to make those decisions. He just decided to come back on the board so far.
So, taking what you just said, explain in what ways, if any, this could have an effect on the current product as we see it on TV, not behind the scenes as far as the business. How could this affect what most people who talk about wrestling on the internet talk about the most, the storylines in the in-ring product? How could this, if in any way, affect that?
In the same way it could have before he made this move, which is to say none, except he can give opinions to Triple H and the writing team, knowing them on a personal level, the same way as a non-board member, non-employee owner of the stock, or even if he didn't own the stock, he could give those suggestions about creative or talent or whatever else running the company he wants. And it's up to them if they want to listen to it and heed it so that they don't piss him off or not. And that's still the same until he is an employee and sitting in that creative chair.
Okay. So,
if he becomes an actual employee of the company, there could be some legal ramifications. Could be. That it's all depending on whether they decide to file those lawsuits. Because technically, he owes the company a lot of money for that investigation. And in those letters, they kind of specified that as such, like, hey, we've got a lot of lawsuits being threatened against us, so maybe this is a bad idea for you to come back. We won't say anything about this if you just agree to drop this, and also please pay us.
Yeah.
So the company's shareholders are already talking about suing the company and Vince for payment of that investigation and all the crap that they've gone through this past year and all the bad looks on the company.
Hopefully it wouldn't be the last time Vince McMahon sees a courtroom.
No, it won't. And even though the SEC and the Attorney General will not admit it, the letters also kind of alluded to the fact that there are pending investigations, and if they have enough evidence, or if they decide to go forward with whatever they have, that could be a criminal case. It could be civil, it could be criminal, it could be a lot of both.
So that answers all those questions, because everybody had an opinion. I feel like CJ's is one of the more well-informed opinions you're going to read about this or hear about this, because most people just go, wah! But I get why they're going to go, wah, because it's Vince McMahon. So I'm going to take that, and the rumor and innuendo is that he is interested in selling the company, selling it to where it could be a private company again. And the big, I don't even know if it's a story. I guess it could be a story because it wasn't true. Some stories aren't true. Is that he sold the company to Saudi Arabia. That's like the big nuclear explosion, kaboom, the end is nigh scenario that a lot of people were afraid of. And a story broke that he was planning to sell to them, and then the next day a story broke that, well, maybe he didn't. I really don't think we need to. I'm just going to speak for me, and then give the floor to them. I really don't feel like that needs any more talk from me. We don't know who's going to buy it, who's not going to buy it. You know, we've heard everybody from Saudi to Disney to NBC Universal to even Tony Khan as potential buyers for the company. So we don't know what's going to happen there. Other than the fact that a lot of people bid on something that wasn't true and then hit the panic button pretty hardcore. And now journalists and a lot of people had some egg on their face, even though they probably won't admit it. And that's my final word on it. I give the floor to the rest to the rest of the crew here to talk about that whole thing, or you know who could potentially be buying it, and yeah, the floor is yours.
I mean, I obviously was kind of like duped a little bit, thinking this was real. But, you know, obviously you can't always believe everything you read on Twitter, but it still just puzzles me that, like, a company like WWE, and again, I'm only just saying this just out of the hypothetical sense, if they were to sell it to, like, the Saudi Sports Authority, which I think that's what it's called or whatnot, it's honestly just, like, why? I mean, sure, they got, like, okay, obviously maybe the big reason why would obviously be the money, but it's like out of the financial aspects, okay, sure, you want to boost your profits and all that, but on the moral aspect, you have any idea of the background behind the term sports washing? So, like, countries that have pretty much shady history on the human rights aspect, like the Middle East and Russia, of saying, you know, oh, you know, sports and culture-wise were pretty amazing, but people try to bring up the politics that they're kind of crap. But anyways, I digress. So, if he doesn't want to sell it to the company, like, it's got to be to a media company. I mean, keep in mind that, like, Formula One, and I'm just saying this as an example, the pinnacle of motorsports, so think of them as basically the WWE of motorsports, they're owned by Liberty Media, and those guys, they want to expand that global audience, you know, whether it's bringing in more races to the U.S. or the bullshit on Netflix called Drive to Survive. Like, they are at least building their audience here. With WWE, they're always building it, but it shouldn't be owned by a fucking country of all places. Like, I personally, if the sale is true, I frankly would believe, I think Comcast, you know, who own NBC Universal, they would be the big front runners, especially with the Peacock deal they have. Although I'm not sure how Fox would feel about it, but less said about them, the better. Like, if you're going to look for a owner, look for someone who doesn't just want to build more money, but they want to actually make it watchable and enjoyable for anyone. So, yeah. Also, on a side note, that there was news that Stephanie McMahon resigned. That concerns me, actually, because she too has built the company big time to trying to expand the audience, especially whether you guys want to believe it or not, helping out with the women's revolution and shit. But at least she, at times, actually looks like she gives a shit for the people that work for her. Same with Triple H, because they've been in the business of actually fighting people. And Vince just does it because he wants the center of attention all to himself. So, who knows what the future going to hold with the WWE? Just, I really hope they think on the moral aspect on, does it sound right for your audience? And I'm not talking the WWE universe and your shareholders and shit. I'm talking about your audience. Is this right for what you want to put on television?
All right, CJ, anything you'd like to say?
Well, unfortunately, that's not the goal of the company. The goal of the company is to make the most money for the shareholders.
Well, there was also a small rumor of the company going private.
And that would be,
I'd be okay with.
I mean, that would be the most money for the shareholders. That's how a company gets bought. So the money wouldn't necessarily go to revenue or profit. It would go to the owner's equity, which is the shareholders, which would mean I think that the company goes private no matter what, honestly. I think that the company has started its buyback program where the company will slowly buy back the shares of stock for sale until none of them are publicly traded and they pull it off the SEC. None of this happens overnight. No sale to a company happens overnight. No private, going off the publicly traded market happens overnight. Nothing on this big a scale happens overnight, which is why I really didn't buy into that. Like, it's sold, it happened, we're done. The Saudis buying it is...
House. Everybody knows that we're for sale. We're just looking for a new owner. It's going to be a long time before it happens.
Yeah. And it takes a while. It's WWE is going to be sold. If it is sold, it will be sold for the hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion. Easy. And there's very few companies in the world that can pay the price tag that they're going to want because they don't necessarily have to sell. And I think that that's probably the biggest reason why Stephanie left is because she didn't want to sell the company. She just didn't. That wasn't what she signed on for, to be the CEO. She wasn't interested in pursuing that, and I'm sure that she's not having good family time right now. So she left, and good on her for doing that. She's a very smart businesswoman, and she's going to be okay.
I mean, business-wise, she's probably like... I would not be surprised at the slightest if I ever see Stephanie McMahon appear on an episode of Shark Tank. Like, that's honestly how much I can trust her with. I know she can grow a business perfectly, whether it's in sports entertainment or in something else. Like, I would be gladly, if given the chance, I would love to work for a business that Stephanie is running.
Well, there's some stories out there.
I like her. There's been a lot of stories out that she has a lot more compassion for her employees than some other people with the same last name that she does. I think that she would be perfectly fine. I'd give it a shot, at least. I mean, I don't know. But I think personally that's why she left. I don't think necessarily it was, they sold it to the Saudis and the Saudis won't have a woman running the show. I don't think that they have...
It was kind of the perfect storm for that rumor, though.
It really was. I just want to throw it out there that the Saudis have owned and do own a lot of shares in companies in America. It's not just the golf that's having trouble getting off the ground in America. They own a lot of shares of stock in a lot of different companies that people would probably be pretty shocked by. And it's really not hard information to find on the Google machine. Unfortunately, with Saudi Arabia having a ton of money, it's easy for them to buy this unilaterally. For everyone else, this is going to be a difficult project. The Peacock deal, I believe, goes until 2025, so those rights don't get yanked away. Fox, unless they want to bid a lot of money, they won't have anything to say about that because their rights for SmackDown are up and are up for renewal, as is the rights for Raw and the next day viewing rights that they have done a short-term contract for with Hulu. WWE has contracts with Disney and other countries. It's not unheard of. They could be in the talks for it. I don't think that fits with the Disney platform. Personally, I vote for NBC Universal or a conglomerate of them to buy, because I would just really kind of like to go back to Universal Studios and have, like, I don't know, a Stone Cold ride. But it also could be
Like there's
cool to
history.
see. Yeah. It could be cool to see Santina as a Disney princess too, I guess. That'd be something that I never thought would be on the bingo card. But
I'm sorry, I must have misheard you. Did you just say Santina, as in
Santina.
the Santino Morella sister thingy?
Yes.
That was creepy as fuck.
Yes. She could be a Disney princess.
I am canceling you. How dare you?
I mean,
No.
weirder things have happened.
Yeah. And I still think to this very day, I thought that was the stupidest thing that has happened to the women's division. I can take in all the stupid mud matches and the godforsaken Playboy pillow fight at WrestleMania 22, but the whole Miss WrestleMania thing they did, that was a new low.
I'll take the Santino stuff over the polo fight. 100%. 100%.
But yeah, so basically right now there's nothing, I mean, other than them trying to sell, there's nothing worth getting worked up about. If you're currently enjoying the show, and continue to enjoy the show. If you're not, don't watch it. There you go. Like there you go. Until we hear something from a much, I want to say this is just a sidebar. When I first started listening to, you know, something to wrestle with and 83 weeks, and I remember kind of thinking like, wow, I don't understand why Pritchard and Bischoff hate Dave Meltzer so much. He's just putting his opinion out there. Like, what's wrong with that? And, you know, I don't understand, like, why they just... Is this just because it makes for a good podcast? Like, I don't understand. But after this whole ordeal and the legions of, like, blind sheep followers he has, I really began to understand why they hate Dave Meltzer so much. Like, I get it. I'm really getting it, because they put out things that aren't completely true, aren't completely confirmed, just speculation, like the three of us are doing right here. We know nothing. We know nothing for sure. Nothing's been announced. We're speculating based off of whatever breadcrumbs we can find. But when they report it, it's like, oh my God, it's happened. And then people get all, oh my God. And then when it turns out that, hey, maybe that's not true, nothing's happened yet, you look silly for getting all worked up. So I get why some people don't particularly care for Mr. Meltzer. But that is pretty much it for this week. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you for the YouTube people for bearing with us. Thank you to everybody who watched live on Twitter. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on my social media pages. I'm on Facebook.com/AthleticGeekA9. Tell me how much I suck on Twitter at @Athletic_GeekA9. And I'm also on Instagram at AthleticGeek89. If you have extra money, donate to us on Patreon. We appreciate that. Anybody else have any social media?
Follow me at the Twitter, ERIKZERINS.
All right.
Also on Twitter at CJTMall0.
Yes, and she will probably be able to answer your business questions a little bit more in depth and with more knowledge than some other folks on social media platforms when it comes to wrestling. But For
Or
CJ.
believe that you're a bigger Ricky Starks fan than she is.
Because it's not true.
Yeah, that part is not true. For CJ and EZ, I am the Athletic Geek. We are just marks. And we are out. Have a good one.